Welcome to my podcast, Today's Dream, Tomorrow's Reality. My name is Vickie Poole. I'm a master transformational coach and hypnotist specializing in habit change. And this podcast is sponsored by the Enlightened Peach. And it's all about embracing our mosaic life. And some of you may ask, what is a mosaic life anyway? Well, it is recognizing that all the pieces of our life, the good, the bad, the indifferent, have all come together to make us who we are. Change any one thing and we are different. With that in mind, I invite you to embrace your perceived imperfections and celebrate who you are. This podcast is unedited and raw, just like life. And I am your host, and I have a special guest that I'll introduce in just a moment. But before I do, I would love to ask you to do me a solid, and that is to leave a comment, leave a question, and like, subscribe, and share. So now let's get started. So this lovely lady here is Uma. Is it Patil?
Patil.
Patil? Okay. Yes. And she's graciously accepted to be here, and she's actually in India. So it's very early for her and a little later for me, but we were able to make this work. So I'm super excited to have her here. And I love your outfit, your whatever. What did you say you call it?
It's a sari. It's an Indian sari.
Okay, it's beautiful, beautiful. I love the colors. I love the patterns. It's beautiful, and it looks great on you. And so I wanted you to just maybe tell all of our listeners, our watchers, just a touch about you, and then we'll just kind of get into a conversation and get to know each other.
Sure. Thank you so much, Vickie, for having me on your podcast. And it's really nice to have connected with you and to be here. I'm Uma Patil, holistic coach and a childhood trauma healing expert. And having had a lived experience of childhood trauma, experiencing abandonment at the age of 4, and then working my way through healing and various holistic practices, I'm now here to share my work with the world. Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, I just have to dive right in. So you were abandoned at 4. Do you remember that time?
Well, I do remember having been sent to my uncle's for education purpose because my parents lived in a village and they wanted me to get good education. But to be honest, until I really stepped on my healing journey, I never ever thought that that could have been the trigger for my trauma or that could have caused me any trauma.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, isn't that the way a lot of things are? We don't even see them until we're on the other side of them, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And I always told everyone like I had a beautiful childhood. I was one of the most loved and adored kids, but I never felt it myself, probably.
Okay. So you were raised by your parents until you were 4.
Yeah.
Yes. And so is that when you went to go stay with your uncle at 4?
Yeah, at 4, at the age of 4, because that's when the primary schooling begins, like the kindergarten or the primary
Okay, I
schooling.
gotcha.
And
Yeah.
the village didn't really have good schools. There was just a government school, and yeah, I think my upbringing was a little much more, I mean, on the, you could say, a better side. And I did not really feel comfortable going to the school in the village because I don't know if that was coming from a place of, as a little child, I did not want to sit beside children who were, having running noses and were not really, uh, or were wearing shabby clothes. And and a young child, I never realized whether it's discrimination or being really mean, but for me, that didn't really fit well. And I used to come back home and complain that I don't want to go to school. And also the education was not really like, it was in the local language. And my parents definitely wanted better for me. And so they moved me to a bigger city called Bangalore, where my uncle lived.
Okay. And so did your parents come and visit you there?
They did. So this is a really amazing question that you're posing, right? So
Mm-hmm.
my parents always came and visited me. Dad came and visited me more often, but he never allowed me to take a break from school, which is what I really longed for, to spend longer moments in time with him. And being like strict or a disciplinarian, I would say that he didn't want me to miss school. He wanted me to make sure that I had completed all my homework, and he did not like really understand my emotions of me wanting to spend more time with them, for that emotional bonding, for that
Mm-hmm.
like intimacy. And I still remember a time when he came with my younger sibling. My parents came with my younger sibling, and I was taking up a fuss that I wanted to like miss school and spend the whole day with them because they were going out shopping and generally like, spending their day out. And I remember being reprimanded. And
Mm.
that's that. I mean, these memories have resurfaced after I've like done my healing journey. Otherwise, I had no memory of my childhood. My childhood memory
Wow.
was totally blocked.
Yeah. Well, that's one of our protection things too, right?
Absolutely, yeah, yeah, yeah. A protector trying to, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, um, so you lived with your uncle for how many years?
6 to 7 years.
Okay, so you were away from your family all that time?
Yes, I was. And the funny part was whenever I came home for a holiday that was during the summer holidays, my mom always said to me that you got to be a good girl when you go back and stay in your uncle's house. So in my mind, I thought like I've done something really wrong and I'm a bad girl, that I need to earn something to get back to live with my parents, right? They are
Mm-hmm.
very loving, very caring. Nevertheless, I mean, parents are also unaware of these kind of patterns
Right,
or
right.
traumas,
We say
right?
stuff to our
Uh,
kids all the time that later on it's like, ah.
yeah, and that's like kind of I remember even as a child always trying to help my aunt. I remember waking up at 4, helping her with her chores in the kitchen, though it was not expected of me or demanded from me. Because like even they treated all of us. I mean, we were 4 children. My uncle had 3 children, and I was the fourth one. And I was treated equally well and with all love and affection. But nevertheless, my intention was to go back to my parents, and I would do anything to earn that badge of a good girl.
Yeah, yeah. So you became an official people pleaser at that point.
Absolutely, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah. I feel you. I'm a people pleaser too, or I have been.
yeah,
I'm getting better
yeah,
at it, I would say, or better
yeah.
at not having to be a people pleaser.
Thank you.
Um, so just take us a little bit further past that. So did you, once I guess you graduated from school, then you went back home? Is
Yeah,
that what
I
happened?
did go back in midway itself when I was in my seventh grade because so we are 4 siblings and my last 2 siblings needed to be schooled as well. And so then finally my parents decided to move to the city or the
Okay.
town.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we all started living together. But even then, like, so my personality completely changed from wanting to be a good girl, being disciplined, being obedient, to because I now got back to where I was, I just lost control of all the discipline and I just wanted to live the life the way I wanted to be as a child. I mean, there was no one to please. And so, probably to some extent, I did go to the other extreme too. Like, you know what I mean? Being a
Yeah.
spoiled child, being a spoiled brat.
Yeah.
I think I can recognize that as well in me. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know what that makes me think of is, when we spend so much time being disciplined and being good and everything, we're looking for an opportunity to just
Yes,
relax.
this is
And
all gone.
so you got you got back to where you were supposed to be all along. And then it's
Yeah,
like, okay, I'm good. I can just be me and I don't have to put on this facade of this good girl constantly pleasing everybody and doing things I'm not even asked to do just to make sure everybody's happy. So it's like you must have, in some ways, to me, it looks like for years you were walking on eggshells, kind of like. And then when
I
you got
was.
home, you're able to not have to worry about it. So how did that go?
Not really well, I guess, with my parents. Because being the firstborn child and to lead by example, I think I didn't really conform to those standards, and I was like quite a brat, is what I can definitely say. Picking fights with neighbors' children,
Oh my
and
goodness.
and like
Well, you'd held
throwing
it repressed,
tantrums.
all that emotion and everything repressed for so long. Yeah.
Yeah, and I had no idea about these things. But now when I look back, I see, oh my God, like I had so much anger in me. And I would wonder like where the anger came from. My mom would say, like, I have a pretty stubby nose, right? She would say, your nose is so tiny, but your anger is right on the tip of your nose. And I don't know where it comes from. And I mean, she couldn't recognize that as well.
Yeah.
Like,
So I got a question for you though, because you spent
uh,
so much time away from your siblings. Did you
yeah.
have that good bond with them, or were they kind of like they were like strangers in some respect?
Uh, to a large extent, yes, there were strangers to some extent. Also, because I think because of my complete overturn in my behavior and the nastiness, I also would love to claim my parents as just mine. And I think really didn't like my siblings then, being very
Yeah.
honest, at that moment in time, because my attention for my parents had to be divided among four of us. And to add to that, we had two cousins living with us because my uncle lived in the village then. And so it was like, I got back here, but I still don't get any attention from my parents. And I'm going to do everything to get their attention.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not in the right way, but maybe in the wrong way.
Attention's attention when you're a kid, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So how did you move from that? Did you finally get to this place where it's like there was some bonding there, or did that ever
Uh, no,
change?
there was, but still there is a kind of a gap, is what I can see, that the other three are really well bonded, but the story is so different that the sibling after me was also sent away. But she was sent away to my mother's parents' home, where she had two grandparents and four uncles who literally kind of like, cherished her. And like, not that my uncle and aunt didn't, but then for them, it was more of like we were four children and they had to really pay attention to our schooling and all other stuff. But in the other case, my sister was like, really kind of cherished with two grandparents and four uncles who kind of doted on her, right? And so
Yeah.
her personality is bloomed completely differently as compared to mine.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so she probably didn't have that same abandonment feeling, um, because abandonment, from I guess you can talk about that a little bit, but abandonment causes a lot of anger and angst, and and people can get it from something small, much less something that
Yeah,
big. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I had so much anxiety. I don't remember having slept from the age of 4 or 5 until I was in my late 30s when I started to do my inner work, and then started working on my sleep habits and all those things. And even now, like I do struggle with sleep quite often.
Hmm. Well, as we're talking, I'm thinking about when I was a kid. I cannot even imagine at 4 years old being sent to live with my aunt and uncle and only seeing my parents on occasion. I can't even fathom that, you know. So it's got to be very intense as a child because you really want that nurturing relationship with your parents. And I've always wondered, because you know a lot of the Europeans send their kids off to boarding school, and so they're there for 4 years, you know, or more.
Mm,
And it's like
yeah.
I just couldn't. I can It's just so far outside of what I'm is normal to me that I just can't imagine. It seems like it would put this major wedge between you and your family,
Yes,
you
yes.
know?
And it has to a large extent. And I'm on my way to healing it.
Hmm. So what are you doing to heal it, if you don't mind my asking?
Yeah, sure. It's more of an inner work is what I would say. When I say inner work is becoming aware of my own patterns, my that's my thought and my behavioral patterns. And so strangely enough, like life had it all set for me at the age of 40, 42. So I ended up in a relationship where my husband as well has had childhood trauma, and
Hmm.
he did not want to have children. And so we ended up not having children, and that became my reason or a path for self inquiry as to why my life is so different from others. And from then on, my questions or my just deep questioning of why and who am I and why am I here? If not as an Indian woman to be married, to be in a marriage and not have children, what's my purpose?
Yeah.
And so that kept leading me to different teachers, guides, and mentors. And being a dentist by profession, I'm an academician. I was an academician in dentistry. And in 2014, my husband had to move to the UK for his projects, and I moved with him. And I completely quit dentistry because that was never my path of passion or purpose. I
Hmm.
never felt a calling to it, but I did it because, like, I wanted to be a doctor, and so the dentist's degree as well gives a doctor in front of your name. And my father said, if not being an MBBS doctor, you can be a dental doctor. And I agreed and I joined the course, but I never really took to it in a real way.
Hmm.
And so that's when my journey began, and I became a yoga teacher in the first place. And even during my yoga teaching time, when I was teaching yoga in the UK, it was always the self-sabotage and the imposter syndrome that was showing up. Like, who am I to teach yoga after 6 weeks of certification, after having done 7 to 10 years of a course in dentistry?
Yeah. I can see that.
Yeah, yeah,
But did you
and
love it?
it's
Did you love the yoga?
I lo I loved teaching yoga, and I wanted to expand it and make it really grow. But like my habits of procrastination, which had set in as a child to avoid all the emotions I was feeling, kept creeping back in, and I never really could take action. And again, it's not like I didn't grow at all or I didn't have an impact on people. But then that's when self-sabotage would come in and, like, you're not really doing well. What are you doing? I mean, you have not succeeded. You haven't made any changes. You haven't made any difference. But when I look back on my journey, I do know that I have made a huge impact on at least a few people while I was teaching yoga in the UK.
Yeah, I bet you did. And you know, one of the things that comes up for me as you're talking about that is one of my greatest fears, I'll just share with you, has always been
Yes,
that I will leave this earth having not made a big enough difference. And, you
same.
know, and right now I'm not crying. I'm surprised because normally when I say that I cry, but it's like there's so much that I want to do, and I want to be remembered, not just by my family. I
Yeah,
want to have made an impact enough that there's more than my family that knows my name and
true.
knows who I am, right? Um, and so but the thing is, a lot of times I suffer from the self-sabotage too, because I will be working on something that I'm going to be doing, and I'll think, like you, I think, well, who are you to teach these people this? Who are you to have a business that looks like this? Who do you think you are, kind of thing, right? And
Yes.
so I'm very familiar. And that is something that I have definitely been working on in the past few years to get past. So just out of curiosity, and I don't normally bring up religion or anything like that, and I don't know
Not
what
at all.
religion you are, but do you believe in reincarnation?
I do. I do. I am a Hindu by religion,
Okay.
and I do believe in reincarnation.
Okay, so have you explored that to see maybe what the reincarnation is? Or, like, because as a hypnotist, I sometimes do past life regressions and things like that. And I'm always amazed with the things that people can discover in that. So have you ever done any of that stuff to kind of,
I have been through past life regressions because
mm-hmm,
this is what I was working on. And so my life journey, like I said, made me to connect with so many mentors and guides.
mm-hmm,
And during the past life regression, I also did discover that I had lived a life in the UK earlier. And and the town I lived in had a park called Castleberry Park. And every time I visited the park, it was like I've been here before, I don't know when and with whom. I've,
ah,
and I had such a strong sense of belonging to that place. And I mean, I've never been to the UK earlier, and I couldn't like really understand why this was happening to me. But I really, even now, when people ask me to imagine a place that I really love to be in, that's the park that comes to my awareness.
nice, nice. So do you remember anything about your past life regression that you did? Was there a similar thing that happened in your past life than of the separation, the abandonment part that happened in this one?
Uh, I had an abandonment with my lover is what I saw in
Mm-hmm.
one of the incarnations, but not the no. I did not come across childhood abandonment in my reincarnations in
Did
my
you
past
see
life.
your family members? Were they any of them in your past
Yes,
lives? Ooh,
yes, and that
tell
was
me, I
my
want to
brother.
know.
That was my brother, and I was really surprised. So I was a man in the past life, and my youngest brother, the only brother I have, was my lover. And apparently, my husband was my brother's, like my brother who was in the form of a female. So my husband was his her brother then,
Uh-huh.
and and this is really strange, right? He shot me with an arrow in the back because this was like really in olden times,
Right.
and he was a king. My husband, like my my husband now, who was my then lover's brother, was a king, and I was a very poor man, and so he did not want me to marry his sister, and
Ah,
he shot me an arrow in the back, and there's a story to that as well in the current life, uh, and I died. But then, like, I remember for a long, long time, I really feared that someone would attack me on the back, and even only recently have I overcome that fear when I walk alone on the roads. I cannot tell you how often I look back if someone's following me or if someone's trying to harm me.
hmm.
This is one pattern. And the second pattern is after I married my husband would always say that you blame me for everything. You blame me for everything. And I did not get why he said that. And after having gone through the regression therapy, that's when I told him that you did this to me and probably you feel the self blame yourself.
I love that. I love
So I probably
So it
you've
is
been
your fault.
if if not in this lifetime, at least in the past
Yeah.
lifetime.
Oh, that's priceless. I love it.
Yeah.
So, how did you go from where all of that to into the coaching arena?
Yeah. So it's been a journey, like I said. So from there, when I was, like I said, because of the self-sabotage and the imposter syndrome, and also not being a good wife, I can say, was not really, I was having relationship issues. That's when I sought a Reiki master. Someone recommended me to her, and I reached out to her, and then I had my healings, and she then said to me that you had some childhood trauma. And I was like, I'm hearing the word for the first time, and this doesn't make any sense to me. But I'm like, okay, you say that, and I just believe it because you know better than me, right? Because I have no idea about this arena of life. And moving on from there, I completed my Reiki Grandmaster's training, and
Ooh,
I continued to teach yoga while I was training in the UK. And in the interim, we had to move back to India. So I set up my classes in India, but it was not the same in terms of both remuneration and the way the classes are conducted. In India, the classes are conducted on an everyday basis. That's the same student comes every day for a week, and the payment
the
options are
yoga
very,
studio
very
or the
different.
Reiki?
No, the yoga studio.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, so they practice 6 to 7 days a week, maybe 6 days a week, and take a break on Sunday. And that left me feeling very strenuous and drained in energy because I
I
had
bet.
already become attuned to energy, right? But in the other case, even in UK, if I did set up classes every day, the timings were very different based on my like daily routine and my day, how which was planned. And accordingly, I had different students coming to my classes. And I felt really rejuvenated, meeting new people every day of the week and then training them and seeing a shift that has happened, even if they attended one class after 1 week. But here, it was very different and I felt drained. And just as a matter of fact, I did tell one of my yoga students that I am a Reiki teacher as well, and I do healings. And she recommended one client to me. And from then on, clients just came to my door, and I hardly did any marketing. So it was either word of mouth or people would just find me on like Google, and they were looking for something else, and they spoke to me and they were like, okay, we would like to try this. That happened, and I continued. And along the way, I still maintained my contacts with my friends in the UK. And through one of them, I got into a women's circle. And this was an online women's circle. And we used to connect regularly. And through them, I connected with my hypnotherapy mentor. That's and he was running a challenge, a manifestation challenge or some challenge. And can you believe it? Like the universe wanted to gift me with a gift of hypnotherapy. I won his raffle,
Ooh.
and I I like kind of won his course in the diploma in hypnotherapy, the first part of the course, the introduction to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when I began training with him in the course, did I realize that I had had such severe childhood trauma. And around the same time, COVID hit, and I did really well in my healing and hypnotherapy business. I would do like hypno reiki. I would just do hypnotherapy sessions, and but I was selling myself short, charging. I was not really charging much, and things changed for me and my husband. Is financially we had a setback because my husband started his own business. He's a software engineer, and he was working in the software industry for almost like 15 years, and then he moved his platform And that's when, like, I think I was like, I was really able to support him through my business. But also, we had to move places from my hometown. We moved to the current place where I'm living in Pune. And after a while, I think it was exactly a year back from now, I hit a deadlock. That is, clients just stopped coming to me, no matter how much I flailed my arms and legs in thin air to bring clients into my practice.
That's a visual, I can see that now.
I know. Like I did everything. That's what I meant to say. I did everything. I showed up on my Instagram. I posted regularly. I tried doing marketing. I hosted workshops. Nothing really worked. And I hit a deadlock, and I knew that there was something more for me, and I was meant to do something differently, and that's the universal guidance. So being really intuitively guided and like always attracting soul-led clients, it was like it was like a shock. And then in October, like 6 months, I tried my best to do a lot of things. Nothing really worked. One client here and there, not like otherwise I had a steady stream of clients. And I met a coach. And so I was branding myself as a self-love coach then. And he saw me doing a lot of lives, showing up on videos and being really confident. And he said, "You have so much confidence, but I don't understand. You're talking about self-love. And who are you talking to? Who is your audience? And why are you teaching self-love? I don't understand any of this." And then I just got to talking to him, and then I decided to go through his mentorship or his coaching program for 3 months. And he's a business coach, and then he helped me launch my coaching program. And that's how. And during that journey as well, a lot of things came up, and I had to work through a lot of stuff. And he then helped me understand that my main purpose here is to help other people who have had deep childhood trauma to, you know, overcome that, move past the trauma, and help them to truly connect with their self-worth, their confidence, help them to really love themselves for who they are, irrespective of their stories, and then find their true potential and their purpose on this.
Ah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And that is typically what we have clients that are us just
Yes.
earlier, right?
Yes.
And because I
Childhood
heard some,
versions.
yes, I heard somebody explain this one time because, when you get to that place, sometimes it's, well, how am I far enough along? I haven't fixed me. I haven't done this, right? And what this person said was, someone who knows 4 things can teach someone who knows 2. And
Yes.
so you only have to be a couple of steps ahead of them, because that way, if you're too far ahead of them, you can't relate, and they can't relate to you. So it's beautiful when you can figure out what your message is and who you're talking to, and then everything just starts flowing, right?
Yes, so true. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I know that's true for me. I struggled with trying to figure out what I wanted to do, for quite a while, because I've been a coach for a while, and a hypnotist for not quite as long, but a hypnotist for a while too. And it was like I kept searching for, what do I want to do? What do I want to do? It's almost like what I want to be when I grow up.
Yeah.
And so I finally got into this place where I know. And it's like, as soon as I made that decision and I just locked in on it, then it seems like the universe was just opening up things, it's powerful. It's been so powerful.
It is. It is. And
Yeah.
even now, the 4 clients I've had, they're all like, I can see parts of me in them. And also, like, they're again soul-led clients.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. So so we're getting a little close to time, but not too much. But I just want to make sure that I touch on, I want you I would like for you, I don't want you, I'm not telling you what to do. I would like for you, if you don't mind, to take just a moment to tell people how who you're really working with, and how can they connect with you so that they can get this help that they need. And some people don't, like you in the beginning, they don't really know they need it. So how can they
Absolutely.
maybe decide that yes, maybe, oh, I do need that.
So I am actually helping women in their 30s and 40s who feel stuck or stagnant in either their careers, their relationships, or in their finances. And they're all interlinked, you see. And the
Mm-hmm.
career could be that they are in their profession, or they could be business women. And this is just a few steps I was just back then. And I can so see them in that, their pain, and like the way they are trying everything to see that things work and move on for them. So these are the people I'm passionate about helping. And yeah. And so the symptoms probably could be, they might be experiencing imposter syndrome, like having all the skills, the talents, the certifications, and that's what we chase, right? Most often, just because
Mm-hmm.
we want to feel good about ourselves.
Right.
In, Despite that, not having the courage to put themselves out there, or not having the courage to take that next step they need to take for them to move forward in their life, or feeling stuck in their relationships despite everything being good, and
Mm.
not focusing on what really is there, and rather than that, shifting their awareness to what's missing.
Right.
And also people who struggle with procrastination. That's been one of my biggest challenge, and that's something that I have really worked through, and I can help people who are like struggling with procrastination.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, someone who doesn't really feel that love for themselves, that self-love. Self-love not coming from a place of taking nice selfies or going to spas or going to cafes, but a deep-seated sense of self-love and self-belief in oneself.
Beautiful. Yeah. So I know there's a lot of people that need all of that. All of that. So thank you for being the person that provides it for so many people. So how would
Thank you.
people reach out to you? And I know in the, just so everybody knows, I will be putting in the description, I will put in your description, I'll put all the links for how to get in touch with you. And even if you have programs or whatever that may be, all the links will be there. But just for kicks and giggles, let's just go ahead and tell them so they don't have to look at the description and they can just jump right in if they want to.
Yeah, they can find me on Facebook with my profile as Uma Patil. And on Instagram, I'm as sacred underscore wisdom underscore journey. That's sacred wisdom, a journey with 2 underscores after each word. And I also have a free Facebook group for women where I am just recently going to be like just in some time going to be hosting a free masterclass on money mastery, how healing childhood trauma can improve their financial wellness.
Oh, that's a good
So,
one.
and I also do a lot of free trainings, and I go live quite often to share some nuggets and insights in the group. So people are welcome to join that group as well and to connect with me on my Facebook profile.
So what's the group
Yeah,
name? What's the name of the
it
group?
is Empower Her, capital E and capital H, self-love and confidence activation.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so she's already told you how to reach her, but like I said, I will have all of that in the description, and it'll be an active link, so you can just click on it and go straight to wherever she is that you can connect in this world. So before we, get too far, tell me a little bit more about your Facebook group, the free group.
Oh, yeah, so well, I created the Facebook group because I wanted to connect with women who are looking for the component of self-love, or who are just even looking for this camaraderie with other women, being in that space where we can just simply hold space for one another, be there for one another, and also a way where I can show up as myself and they can show up as themselves,
Mm-hmm.
and where I can offer some training, some workshops, and daily doses of it, motivation, inspiration, and just sharing my thoughts and insights.
Beautiful. Yeah. That sounds amazing. So, everybody, check out her Facebook, her Instagram, and her Facebook group. And maybe if it sounds like something that you would benefit from, and I don't know who wouldn't, um, just go ahead and ask to be a member and just utilize all this. Because I mean, it's amazing when somebody does that stuff for free, because people can get a big difference in their lives just with the free stuff if they choose to. And then they get to a place where they're feeling a little more confident in their abilities. And then they go ahead and they want a little bit more. They want a little bit more hand
You're
holding. They want somebody to, more one-on-one or specific to their needs. But it all starts with getting a taste of how you teach and what you do. And so that's beautiful. I love it. Really love it.
Thank you. Thank you. I also would love to know a little bit more about you, Vicky. So, like, what is it that you do, and how do you share your work? And
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not used to that, but I'm used to doing the interviewing, not the interviewee.
we,
Well, I have a
it's
Facebook.
okay for me to ask you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. I actually have a free Facebook group too that's called Stand Up and Stand Out. And I help women. I have a few men in the group, but I primarily help women to kind of step into their brilliance by transforming their behaviors and their beliefs so that they can succeed in life, love, and business. And it is because I am a life of transformational coach, and I'm a hypnotist, and then I've just partnered up with a friend. So like I'm doing some master classes and I have a program coming up. I just partnered with a woman who teaches improv. So we're using improv and the hypnosis and the coaching together, because I'm sure you can attest to this. When you're having
Yeah.
fun and doing things like that, it kind of lowers those inhibitions a little bit to where you will not be so self-conscious and you will step out and do the things you want to do, right? So we're mirroring
Yeah.
those things together. But I do
Wow.
private one-on-one hypnosis, I do coaching, but and then I have my podcast, of course, and I meet
Yeah.
amazing people like you on my podcast. So I've been very grateful for that. I'm getting so close to my 100th episode. I've got to go in and
Wow.
look at my
Wow.
numbers now to see how close I am, because unfortunately, quite a few months ago, where I have it starts in Callcast, and they had some kind of glitch in their system and it wiped
Oh,
everything out. And well, they put it all back, but when they did, the
yeah.
numbers got messed up. So
I see.
I have to
Hmm.
go in there and look and see, because I want to be authentic. Because on one of the
Yeah.
platforms, it says I'm at 100, but I'm not, because some of the numbers are missing. So I'm going in there and I'm looking, because I'm going to make sure it's actually 100
100.
when I say I'm celebrating. So I think I'm just like
Wow.
maybe four away. But I got to
Wow.
go back and look at the numbers again. But it's going to be a celebration. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm so happy for you. That's wonderful. And yeah, I'm really, really grateful that you are hosting something like this to bring people in and showcase their brilliance, and share more of what others do with the world.
Yes.
That's beautiful.
When I started it, it was just me having conversations. But I would be on Facebook and I would be looking at in these groups and stuff that I was in, and somebody would share an amazing story. And I thought, oh, I'd love to know more about that. So I'd reach out and say, would you like to be on my podcast? So that's how that started. And it's just grown to
Oh,
where
wow.
it's mostly now just me having a space for people to tell their stories. And I
Yeah.
mean, the people that I've met, like you, I'm just mind blown because without the podcast, I'd never have met them. I'd never have met
Yeah,
you,
that's so
you
true.
know,
Yeah,
and
true, true.
yeah, so it has broadened my experience of the world, and I love every minute of it. I do.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
my pleasure. Thank you for asking. And so I just got to ask you, do you have any one last words, one little last piece of advice that you'd like to leave everybody with?
Yeah. So your message is in your mess. So don't run away from the mess. Face it, sit with it, and then you'll truly get your message.
Beautiful. I love it. I love it. So I'm going to leave everybody with one of my favorite quotes. The best way to predict the future is create it. Yes. All right. So everybody, thank you so much for being here and joining us. Uma, has been such a pleasure to have you here, and hopefully we'll have you a guest again because I definitely have enjoyed the experience, and I'm sure all of
Thank
my
you.
viewers and listeners have too. So thank you again for being here, and thank you for everybody. And make sure you like, subscribe, share, and leave a comment or a question. And I'm sure we'll be able to get back and get those answered for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Mwah.
Bye-bye.